Language has been a form of communication since the beginning of humanity. It comes in various forms, such as vocal and physical, an example of which is body language and gestures. In this video, however, we will be focusing on the spoken aspect of languages. Every day, thousands of languages and dialects are spoken by everyday people around the world. Some are similar, some are vastly different. So which one is the hardest language to learn?
Wernicke's area is a part of the brain that is responsible for the learning aspect of languages. This includes understanding the concepts that underlie the language being learned, such as grammar, vocabulary, and sentence structures. These lingual concepts differ from language to language and from area to area. Wernicke's area and most of the brain is composed of nerve tissue. The nerves responsible for language acquisition can be referred to as its neurological pathway. The development of the neurological pathway explains why children find it easier to grasp new concepts, such as languages, than adults do, and why the difficulty of languages differs from individual to individual. A child in the first 2 years of life is very receptive to their surroundings. They learn to trust their parents, learn to love, and also learn to speak their mother tongue. This time of high receptivity is called the sensitive period, sometimes referred to as the critical period. It is why the vast majority of people speak at least one language fluently. They are exposed to it during their sensitive periods, and because they are so young and undeveloped, their minds are extremely flexible. Neurological pathways responsible for grasping new concepts develop rapidly, and language acquisition becomes a quick and even easy process. After the stage of early childhood, however, this pathway is set, and further development is very difficult to achieve. By the time most people start learning another language, they are well past their critical period. Their minds develop at a slower rate, and the neurological pathways are less flexible. This does not stop people from becoming fluent in another language, however. Becoming fluent in another language could be based on its difficulty. For the native English speaker, Arabic, Chinese, Japanese, and Korean are considered the most difficult languages to learn. A characteristic consistent with these languages is that they are vastly different from the English language. With different alphabets, scripts, symbols, and sentence structures, learning one of these languages provides the English learner with too many new concepts to learn, and it is very difficult for the mind to account for these differences when the brain's neurological pathways are already set. One's Wernicke's area can only accommodate for new languages if they are similar to their native language. For example, it is possible for an English speaker to acquire fluency in French, German, or Spanish, since all of these languages stem from Latin. There are therefore a lot of similarities. Similarly, it is relatively easy for a native North Indian to learn several North Indian languages, since they are similarly Sanskrit-based. South Indians may find it extremely hard to learn, however. The difficulty of the learning aspect of a language is therefore determined by the age at which it is being learned, and how greatly it varies from one's mother tongue. So whilst languages are ranked differently on the language difficulty scale, language acquisition, in our opinion, is still subjective. Languages that are similar to one's mother tongue will be easier to learn than a language that is vastly different. This is due to the neurological pathways that were formed during our first few years. This pathway is specific and can accommodate for languages only that are similar to one's mother tongue.
The next area we'll be looking at is Broca's area or Broca area. It is located in the frontal lobe on the left hemisphere of the brain. Its main function is linked to speech production. This function is the ability to properly pronounce words, or sometimes regarded as sounds. It is often said that language processing has been linked with Broca's area ever since Pierre-Paul Broca reported speech impairments to 2 patients who were injured in that part of the brain. They had lost the ability to speak, however, they were still able to communicate by writing down their thoughts. The unit of sound produced when speaking is categorized as a phoneme. Phonemes come in both sound and gestures that distinguish between one word from another in any given language, such as kiss and kill. Children during their time at school, usually between the ages of 4 to 12, are taught by reading out loud and communicating with others. This allows for both development and correct pronunciation of any given language. However, research has shown us that second language students may not be able to pronounce certain words from the language they are studying due to the lack of phonemes. An example would be when an Asian student is trying to pronounce an R sound in the English language. It is often noted that they cannot pronounce these words due to lack of phonemes they have attained at a younger age. These students are not able to correctly pronounce these words or phrases because the Asian language does not have the R sound in its language. So we pose a second question. Which language is the hardest to pronounce? As this question has many flaws such as, what if the language is your mother tongue? Or, what if it's a second language? We narrowed it down to a basic question. Which language is the easiest to pronounce? From an English language first speaker's perspective. We asked our volunteers to say, "Hi, my name is Bob," in 4 languages consisting of Chinese, Japanese, French, and Italian.
你好，我的名字叫 Matt。私の名前は Matt です。Bonjour, mon nom est Matt. Hello, mein Name is Matt.
你好，我的名字叫私の名前は Ryan です。
Bonjour, mon nom est Emile.
你好，我的名字叫 Bob。私の名前は Bob です。Bonjour, mon nom est Bob. Hello, mein Name is Bob.
你好，我的名字叫イタイ。私の名前はイタイです。Hello, my name is Itai. Bonjour, mon nom est Itai.
From our results, Chinese and Japanese were the hardest to pronounce, or were pronounced the most incorrectly. On the other hand, French and Italian were pronounced quite well by the English language first speakers. Following that demonstration, we found a few non-English language first speakers and asked them a few questions as well. What was your first language?
Chinese. Vietnamese.
Can you please say how are you in that language?
你怎么样?
Xin chào, có khỏe không?
你好，我的名字是大卫，我长大想成为一个海盗。
Can you now say watashi no namae wa Bob desu?
私の名前は Bob です。私の名前は Bob です。
私は名前は Bob です。
Can you now try to say, rolling rubber rolls like rocking road horses?
Rolling Robin rolls like rocking road horses.
Rolling Robert rolls like rocking road horses.
From this we can confirm that without the proper phonemes learned for their specific language, a student learning that language may not be able to properly pronounce words and or phrases from that language they are learning.